There's a small village. I went to the village, an elderly grey-haired lady who came forward, held her hand out very graciously when she greeted me and said to me, "My name is Elizabeth, just like our Queen."
She became Queen at a very young age, and that meant that she had this very, very long reign. But she made it clear right from the start that she would see it through whatever happened. She would never abdicate under any circumstances.
It's news nobody wished to hear. The Queen has been such a permanence in our lives for so long. You simply expected her to go on forever.
There are so many people in this country today that don't even remember anybody else but the Queen.
It might have been a different location, but the outcome for Liz Truss was the same. She left as the Queen's 15th Prime Minister. It is a moment many politicians might dream of, but only a few actually achieve. Chris Ship, News at 10, Balmoral Castle.
Good afternoon. I have just accepted Her Majesty the Queen's kind invitation to form a new government. What makes the United Kingdom great is our fundamental belief in freedom, in enterprise, and in fair play. Our people have shown grit, courage, and determination time and time again. Now is the time to tackle the issues that are holding Britain back.
Fall up the first hurdle, whether they won't sit through, I don't know.
Maybe they have.
We will transform Britain
Well,
into an
people are
aspiration
absolutely
nation
petrified about the energy bills.
with high-paying jobs
Their wages, going to work, doesn't give them
safe
enough
streets,
to live on.
and where everyone, everywhere, has the opportunities they deserve.
Just after 12:30 today, we heard the news from Buckingham Palace that the Queen were concerned about the Queen's health. They said that doctors were concerned and they'd told her to rest and she was under medical supervision. But the concerning thing is that members of the royal family, her children, William, the second line to the throne, grandchild, are all travelling up to Balmoral to see her as we speak. So that is the concerning thing, that the family feel that things are so serious that they need to be by the Queen's side at this moment.
She's an inspiration to the youngsters. She's been on the throne for that long. Always the people first, her family second, her people and her country have always come first.
Amazing woman that she is. She was amazing and she's done an amazing job, and let's hope that whoever comes next does a good job as she did.
Just want to wish the Queen a swift recovery as she recovers in Scotland. I wish her all the best.
So let me just now repeat that statement from the royal household, which we have received in the last few minutes. It reads, "The Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon. The King and the Queen Consort will remain at Balmoral this evening and will return to London tomorrow." And so the reign of Elizabeth II comes to a close after 70 years at the age of 96. Her son Charles is now king.
London's black cab drivers lined the Mall in tribute and respect. There will be many days ahead in which those here in Edinburgh whose lives she touched, those who had the privilege of meeting her, those who felt they knew her as well as their own grandmother, even though they'd never met, will have their turn to honour her in books of condolence or as she lies in state. But for today, it's the simple act of placing flowers and watching the rainbows that arched briefly over both the palace and Windsor Castle at the moment her death was announced, and of quietly giving thanks for a life of supreme duty.
You're clearly very, very sad. Tell me how you're feeling right now at this news.
Just touched with the whole situation, you know. You don't think you will be, but she's been part of my life forever. And, you know, she's not here. She's gone. And, you know, you hope, but you appreciate that, you know, her age, it was expected at some point, but even when it happens, it's still a shock. And that's what I'm feeling now. Just got that feeling the way I feel.
Well, I've just heard it 5 minutes ago, obviously, 5-10 minutes ago. We knew it was coming, obviously. But it's like when you lose a parent, you know it's coming, but it still upsets you.
Amazing lady. What she's done for this country.
The duty she started when she got the aeroplane, when she was, 23, 24? And her duty was to look after all the people for us, you know. And it just took me back when her husband died, a couple of years ago, last year, and she was sat by herself.
Setting an example, but
to the world.
You need your family round you, don't you, to hug you. And
yes.
Yeah, it's not that far. Like half an hour.
Yeah, that's true. I live just outside Paris.
Bring it.
So you brought it just for the occasion?
Yeah. I was leaving the house. I didn't know what to bring.
You just thought, I'll grab anything.
I'll grab anything. I'll grab a candle and a passport.
She is the United Kingdom. She represents a part of me and a part of every British person, and she is the country. And so I was just absolutely devastated, and I knew I had to come somewhere where there'd be other British people where I could speak about it, and maybe find someone else who could also understand whilst I'm in Paris. Yeah.
She's just always been someone who's been there. She's on our $5 note, and I don't know what this next chapter will look like without her. And, you know, it might be a wonderful next step for Australia, but it's still really sad to leave this era behind.
Very important to me, very important to everybody. I know that it's British, it's English, and I think we all feel the same way right now. We all feel a bit lost, I think, tonight. We all, a bit lost, and feel like we've lost our way a bit tonight.
A fact I have been privileged to observe personally. I hope it will be a source of comfort to her family that she spent her final days in a place that she loved so much. This is a moment of acute loss and profound sadness. It is also a moment of enormous significance. The passing of Queen Elizabeth marks the end of an era. Our nation is in mourning. My heart and my thoughts, and I know those of people across Scotland, are with the royal family at this deeply sad moment.
I think for me, the most important thing about Queen Elizabeth II was the simple fact that she was a believer. You go back through Christian history and the history of the monarchy in this country, and a few of them have been a bit dodgy, shall we say. But this was a woman of such evident deep faith. And her Christmas messages bring that out. She knew her faith, she knew her Bible. She was a huge fan of the parable of the Good Samaritan, for instance. I think she leaves a huge legacy of faith. I think it's so important for the monarch not just to be someone who is a symbol of unity to our nation, but also, from my point of view particularly, it's good as well that they are a believing Christian, and that therefore is a symbol to other people of the importance of Christian faith in the life of the nation.
Here in Greater Manchester, as elsewhere, we are absorbing the enormity of yesterday's news. The period of national mourning and reflection that we go into is important for two reasons. First, as a mark of respect for a truly exceptional life, and of course for the royal family, but also as a moment of true reflection on what Her Majesty the Queen taught us, what she gave us. Because as we go forward from here, it will be important to understand that. In a world that is ever-changing and very volatile, she provided constancy and consistency for the British people. And those are qualities that we all need to learn to value more. She defined the national character in most of the last century and in this, what it is to be British. That mix of stoicism and a sense of humour, a great basis on which anybody can face the ups and downs of life, but also stern and serious, yet warm and generous at the same time. That's Queen Elizabeth II, as I remember her.
Well, I was immensely saddened when I heard it. It's news nobody wished to hear. The Queen has been such a permanence in our lives for so long. You simply expected her to go on forever. And it's a great shock that suddenly she has gone. It's like a great oak has fallen. And it will be a day that people will remember in history for a very long time.
My family is in mourning. The whole of the country is in mourning. Her Majesty the Queen will be mourned not only by 60 million of the British people, but by the 2.5 billion people in the 54 countries of the Commonwealth. Everywhere I went, Her Majesty was respected, she was admired, she was revered, and we will miss her greatly. There is no monarch who has served so long with such popularity and held in such high esteem and dedicated herself so much to the future of our country.
I think the public will be immensely sad. To many people, to most people, she has been a permanence in their lives ever since they were born. There are a few people who remember the old king, but they're a tiny minority of the population now. And the great gift the Queen has had is not only has she been the monarch, the symbol of royalty, but because of the manner in which she has lived, because of her empathy, she is almost as though she's a supernumerary member of every family in the country. So I think her loss will be personally felt by people. Not just felt, oh, it is sad that we have lost a great figure, but I think there will be personal degrees of sadness, and a great many tears will be shed over the next few days.
I think part of her great service that was unseen was that, as one former Prime Minister I heard saying at one point in a conversation, that there was only one person in the world that he could talk to and say exactly what he thought and felt and was 100% certain that it would never go any further. And that was Her Majesty.
If I asked her for her view on an issue, she would give it carefully, but she would give it. And if I asked her about things that were to do with where the British people might be, or what she thought was the state of British opinion, you know, she had a very shrewd sense of where the centre of gravity was.
Oh, well, any Prime Minister who didn't listen to the Queen's views was a very foolish man or woman indeed, because she had an historic memory, longer than any civil service advisor. She had a great understanding of how people lived and was very interested in what government policy meant for the lives of people in different parts of the country. That was something about which she was concerned and about which she would ask questions. So you got a very clear idea from an intelligent, well-informed person about how some of the policies might be received and what their implications might be. And that to politicians who can often be locked in the narrow world of Westminster is easy. It's very easy to find yourself blocked off from opinion that once you would have been familiar with. And the Queen was one outlet where sometimes something was said that brought you back to realise exactly what something may mean. And I don't think there is a single Prime Minister who has worked with her who wouldn't say the same thing.
Visits by American presidents have been memorable landmarks in my reign. Unlike in the United States, the British head of state is not limited to 2 terms of 4 years. And I have welcomed no fewer than 7 of your predecessors.
Whatever subject you were going to talk about, you always knew she would have, watched the latest news bulletins. You knew she read everything that went into her box of papers. You knew if it was anything to do with security or defence or the armed forces or overseas affairs, she'd be immensely knowledgeable.
She was a very comfortable person to work with. There was no difficulty about it. There is formality because she was a monarch and you were the Prime Minister, and formality is inevitable and proper because politics is a divisive trade. But once you began discussions, it was very straightforward. It was very easy. The conversation flowed very quickly, very simply, very widely, and it was extremely useful.
Had been the repository over so many years with so many secrets. She knew how to keep a secret, but most important, she knew how to give the Prime Minister a sounding board and a person to listen to them and talk to them in a way that no other person could. I mean, I really did unburden myself on many occasions when things were really difficult, when you're taking either really difficult decisions or maybe you had a huge problem within your cabinet and you were talking about it with her, and I felt I could say anything to her.
The Queen was respected around the world. She had given a lifetime of service, and her devotion to duty was an example and inspiration for us all. And as Prime Minister, of course, I was fortunate enough to be able to meet her in different circumstances, including in the weekly audiences, but also at Balmoral, and saw a more relaxed Queen. I think we are all mourning the fact that somebody who was a constant in our lives has now passed away. And we must always remember that she wasn't just our Queen. She was a mother and a grandmother and a great-grandmother, and my thoughts and prayers are with the whole of the royal family.
Obviously, for the people of this city and this city region, those qualities were brought to this city by Her Majesty the Queen at important moments. In 1996, she was on the ground in this city within days when terrorism had struck at its heart. In 2017, again, more devastatingly this time, She visited the Royal Manchester Children's Hospital, a private visit, and speaking to the young victims, their families, the staff afterwards, it was hard to put into words, actually, the lift that her visit gave them.
My daughter's friend, we were waiting, and my daughter's friend's mum, and she died. She was one of the ones that got she died in advance.
Yeah.
So she's got a couple of operations ahead of her. It just means such a lot that you've come today.
And what happened to you?
I had one of the wounds as well, shrapnel wounds, so it was nuts and bolts.
And then more positively, in 2002, when the city was holding the Commonwealth Games, it coincided with the Queen's Golden Jubilee, and that was a moment that will live long in the memory of this city and its people.
My goodness, I've been busy. Of course, our association is more than a partnership of governments. The real soul of the Commonwealth, the motor, the drive, call it what you will, is provided by people.
I was fortunate, though, to share some more private moments with her, so I can speak with some knowledge and feeling about the person. I remember very vividly Remembrance Sunday in 2008, when I had the formal responsibility of greeting the Queen outside the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, escorting her through the building to the cenotaph. But very quickly, the roles were reversed. The monarch, who had done it more than 50 times before, took pity and looked after the quivering wreck of a cabinet minister that she found before her. If I also think of the moment when she came to Lee and we saw her do the official opening of the Lee Sports Village, and a very formal morning went into a relaxed afternoon with a long lunch and many loud laughs. That lives long in my memory. And then finally, at a private audience during winter at Sandringham, where I was surprised to find the Queen surrounded by a flask, some boxes of Tupperware, and an unfinished jigsaw, the kind of scene that you would have found in any caravan or British holiday home around the same time. In life, I try to speak as I find. In Queen Elizabeth II, I found somebody of good sense, quiet duty.
Thank you very much. I'm still alive.
Nice to see you again. Of calm judgment, sharp humour.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister of Canada, for making me feel so old.
But great spirit of generosity and warmth.
I mean, in those meetings, one small anecdote was that more often than not, you did have a gallery audience. The gallery audience was the corgis, and they would sit there, and mostly they were well behaved, but not invariably. And from time to time, the Queen would speak very sharply to one of the corgis, all of which she knew by name. If the corgi came round and was sort of indicating an interest in jumping up on your lap or deciding to make a meal of your toe.
Majesty.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello, you.
The Queen would gently discipline the dog and it would be moved away. So one saw that, as you might in any home in the country. And there were other occasions when you were perhaps a guest of the Queen somewhere where you would see private actions of the Queen, staying at Balmoral if you got up early. And indeed, you often were woken up very early by a piper in the mornings. And you went out, you'd probably find the Queen in old shoes, old boots, Wellington boots if it was wet, a long raincoat, a headscarf, walking the dogs. And you see informal glimpses of the private life behind the public figure. The Queen, beyond doubt, is the best known woman in the world. Probably the most loved woman in the world, I would think as well. And then suddenly behind that enormous facade that exists because of her position, you see the private woman who lurks behind it. And that's rather a lovely thing to see.
Is I saw Her Majesty in a whole variety of settings, and what I think came across was her great interest in people. She wanted people to feel at ease. She wanted her guests at Balmoral to relax, enjoy themselves. But even on official events, she wanted people to be at their ease. She had a great interest, a great warmth that came across. One of the last events that she attended in public was the official opening of Thames Hospice, which is in my constituency. And when she came in, there was just that wonderful sense from people of awe and respect. And when she spoke to people, you could see, their eyes lit up, and there was that great warmth that came across from her. And I think that was tremendous. She had a great sense of humour as well, but it was that interest in people. She devoted her life to serving the people of this country.
Hundreds of events every year which she attended. And she was the one, and again, it runs in the family. I've seen His Majesty do the same thing, who could go into a room full of people or walk down a crowded street, and everyone she spoke to felt that they were the only person there. She was never looking over their shoulders, see, is there someone a bit more interesting to see? Everybody got her attention.
Well, it's a huge privilege as Prime Minister to have weekly audiences with the monarch, and I was hugely privileged to be able to have those conversations with the Queen. And it is a conversation, but it's a conversation with somebody who has immense experience. I think many people don't realise how much work the Queen actually did on a day-to-day basis, on her red boxes, on the papers she was seeing about issues around the world, government business. And of course, because she had been on the throne for so long, there were so many people that I was dealing with that she knew, she'd perhaps met them, or she knew about their history. She perhaps knew, in some cases, she will say, oh yes, I knew their father, and was able to talk about bring that experience that she had, that knowledge that she had. I have been asked by quite a few people in the past who I thought, when I was Prime Minister, who was the most impressive world leader that I met. And I always say, actually, the most impressive head of state was the Queen.
This was a leader who truly led by example. And the best way we can honour her life is to understand how she worked, what that gave to the country, and commit to carry on in the same vein.
I think everybody throughout the country respects what the Queen has achieved. No monarch has lived longer. No monarch has had such a force of personality that is esteemed and respected across the whole world. And it's the whole world that is in mourning because she was a compassionate, dedicated, wonderful public servant, and nobody will ever forget the contribution she's made to our country and to our constitution, and indeed her contribution to the world. She was a peacemaker. She brought people together. She listened to people. She never told you what her view was on any partisan issue. She wanted people to come together, and she did bring people together. And the great achievement of her reign as the longest serving monarch is the utter respect, the overwhelming respect that every leader in every part of the world I know felt for her and is mourning her this evening.
Thousands of dawns have broken over Westminster, but very few have broken on a day quite like this. Here to witness it, hundreds of people willing to sit through the rainy night to pay their last respects to the Queen.
But I haven't had any sleep. The adrenaline kicks in, I think.
Patricia spent the whole night in the queue. She was saved from sleeping on the wet pavement by a local resident.
He was really kind, like our guardian angel, because it fell down with rain.
She's described you as a guardian angel.
Not at all. The guardian angel of the country is over there.
By mid-morning, those who braved the night were being joined by others, hoping not to queue for so long, from the elderly to the very young, each with their own reasons to come.
This is the only monarch I've known for the whole 10 years of my life.
Because this is history, so I just want to kind of just try and be a part of it.
People keep coming in their hundreds of thousands to honour two British traditions, the Queen and the queue.
You know, today, I think back to my grandparents, because if my grandparents were alive, they would have been here. So it's nice to be here to celebrate with everybody, the life of Her Majesty and the legacy that she's left.
Each wave of people bringing a tide of emotion, collective catharsis for a community in grief.
I speak to you today with feelings of profound sorrow. Throughout her life, Her Majesty the Queen, my beloved mother, was an inspiration, an example to me and to all my family. And we owe her the most heartfelt debt any family could owe to their mother, for her love, affection, guidance, understanding, and example. My life will, of course, change as I take up my new responsibilities. It will no longer be possible for me to give so much of my time and energies to the charities and issues for which I care so deeply. But I know this important work will go on in the trusted hands of others. This is also a time of change for my family. I count on the loving help of my darling wife, Camilla. In recognition of her own loyal public service since our marriage 17 years ago, she becomes my Queen Consort. I know she will bring to the demands of her new role the steadfast devotion to duty on which I have come to rely so much. As my heir, William now assumes the Scottish titles which have meant so much to me. He succeeds me as Duke of Cornwall and takes on the responsibilities for the Duchy of Cornwall, which I have undertaken for more than 5 decades. I want also to express my love for Harry and Meghan as they continue to build their lives overseas. In a little over a week's time, we will come together as a nation, as a Commonwealth, and indeed a global community, to lay my beloved mother to rest. In our sorrow, let us remember and draw strength from the light of her example. On behalf of all my family, I can only offer the most sincere and heartfelt thanks for your condolences and support. They mean more to me than I can ever possibly express. And to my darling Mama, as you begin your last great journey to join my dear late Papa, I want simply to say this: thank you. Thank you for your love and devotion to our family and to the family of nations you have served so diligently all these years. May flights of angels sing thee to thy rest. Queen Elizabeth was a life well lived, a promise with destiny kept, and she is mourned most deeply in her passing. That promise of lifelong service I renew to you all today. Alongside the personal grief that all my family are feeling, we also share with so many of you in the United Kingdom, in all the countries where the Queen was head of state, in the Commonwealth, and across the world, a deep sense of gratitude for the more than 70 years in which my mother, as Queen, served the people of so many nations. In 1947, on her 21st birthday, she pledged in a broadcast from Cape Town to the Commonwealth to devote her life, whether it be short or long, to the service of her peoples. That was more than a promise. It was a profound personal commitment which defined her whole life. She made sacrifices for duty. Her dedication and devotion as sovereign never wavered, through times of change and progress, through times of joy and celebration, and through times of sadness and loss. In her life of service, we saw that abiding love of tradition, together with that fearless embrace of progress, which makes us great as nations. The affection, admiration, and respect she inspired became the hallmark of her reign. And as every member of my family can testify, she combined these qualities with warmth, humor, and an unerring ability always to see the best in people. I pay tribute to my mother's memory, and I honor her life of service. I know that her death brings great sadness to so many of you, and I share that sense of loss beyond measure with you all. When the Queen came to the throne, Britain and the world were still coping with the privations and aftermath of the Second World War. and still living by the conventions of earlier times. In the course of the last 70 years, we have seen our society become one of many cultures and many faiths. The institutions of the state have changed in turn. But through all changes and challenges, our nation and the wider family of realms, of whose talents, traditions, and achievements I am so inexpressibly proud, have prospered and flourished. Our values have remained and must remain constant. The role and the duties of monarchy also remain, as does the sovereign's particular relationship and responsibility towards the Church of England, the church in which my own faith is so deeply rooted. In that faith and the values it inspires, I have been brought up to cherish a sense of duty to others and to hold in the greatest respect the precious traditions, freedoms, and responsibilities of our unique history and our system of parliamentary government. As the Queen herself did with such unswerving devotion, I too now solemnly pledge myself, throughout the remaining time God grants me, to uphold the constitutional principles at the heart of our nation. And wherever you may live in the United Kingdom, or in the realms and territories across the world, and whatever may be your background or beliefs, I shall endeavor to serve you with loyalty, respect, and love, as I have throughout my life.